Hey everybody, it's Dave Grantham from Evolutionary Qigong, and in this video I'm going to review the Spinal Qigong exercises that we do in our classes. It's basically the third section of our Tai Chi Qigong exercise class. I did a video on the other two sections, warm up and stretching. If you haven't checked that one out, I encourage you to go over and look at that video first. Get used to those exercises. Review this one. I'm going to kind of break down the exercise a little bit. They won't be continuous, but I like to explain a few things about how and why we do certain things that we are doing in these exercises. So once you put them together, it takes about 30 minutes. Great way to start your day, get your body activated, get your chi really flowing well, and get those muscles activated. So let's get started on what we're doing here. The first exercise in Spinal Qigong exercises is known as horizontally circling the waist. Now I want you to take a look at this symbol here, okay? This is a yin-yang symbol. There's two of them put together. One is actually a yang symbol and the other one is a yin symbol that's sitting on top. Take that image and I want you to place it down on the floor between your feet. And basically what you're doing is you're going to be drawing a circle between the feet with your tailbone. Okay, that's how I describe it to people in our classes. So you're going to take your feet, place it about a little wider than shoulder width apart, just a slight squat down into the legs. And what we're going to do is we're going to start from a point and we're going to slowly spiral out to a nice circle between the legs. Okay, so again, the point, the coccyx, the point, that small tailbone of your spine, you're going to take that and draw a circle between the legs. Now how do we do that? Well, the first thing we're going to do, place your right hand on the front side, center line, about 2 inches below the navel. That's what we call our lower dantian area. So we're going to place the palm there. The left palm, we're going to take and place it facing away from the body on your back on that fused section of your spine known as the sacrum. So I'm going to place it like that. The reason I place it away is because if I turn it facing forward, it tightens up my shoulder, pinches up my neck, and basically doesn't allow me to relax. So I want a nice relaxed position with that. So why am I putting my hands like this? Well, what it's doing is it's allowing my mind to get a physical notion of a central area where I want to rotate. Remember in the other video, if you haven't seen it, again, go back and look at it. In our warm-up section, we do what's called circling the waist. So we're making these big circles like this, okay, with the whole entire body. So it's almost like a diamond pattern, if you will. And what I'm doing is I'm taking that and I'm shrinking it down to the lower part, to this area here, the waist area. And specifically, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to loosen up this area and activate more of the tissue around the lower back, known as that lumbar section. In fact, I have here with me a model from Dr. John Murray of Murray Chiropractics, a real good friend of mine. And so you can get a good idea. I'm working on this lower part of my back known as the lumbar section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt my hips forward and backwards, or anteriorly and posteriorly, as well as from side to side, to focus on this lower part of my body. Okay, so it looks like this. Feet are about shoulder width apart, maybe a little wider, just a slight squat, placing that right hand on the front side, left hand on the back side. Starting from that point, I'm going to slowly start drawing the circle, spiraling out into a nice size between the legs. When I circle around the back side, okay, this side, I'm going to inhale. When I circle around the front side, I'm going to exhale, all through the nose. So just nice and concentrated, slowly draw a nice circle between the legs. Now you notice that my upper body is somewhat stable, staying upright, and I'm focusing just on this area. Okay, now when you get used to these movements, you're going to want to do at least 10, 12 repetitions in one direction. And it doesn't matter which direction you're going in, because you are going to change and go in the opposite direction as well too. So after a few repetitions here, what we're going to do is we're going to next twist your body to your right. So you're going to turn to your right. I'm your mirror, so I'm going to turn in the same direction you're going. And when I do this, what you're going to see is I'm going to try to keep this leg a little bit out, so the knee is somewhat vertical over the foot. I don't want it to just collapse in what we call a valgus situation. I want to keep it out, and the reason I'm doing that is I'm trying to open up this hip area by turning away from it and opening it up, externally rotating it, if you will, and then turning into the opposite one, obviously. Now, as I do this, I'm going to continue to do this circling so that it never stops, it continues. And I'm going to go as far as I comfortably can without sacrificing the size of that circle. I don't have to twist completely in that direction. The ultimate goal, if I can, as I go along, I will. Now again, if I do this, you'll see that I'm able to turn a little bit more, and that's not the training here. I want to keep this open. So I keep it out, and I twist, and I'm circling. So after a few repetitions in that direction as well, probably a good 10 in that direction, 10, 12, I'll slowly turn the body to what I call that forward-facing position. And I'll come back to that forward-facing position, and now I'm going to turn to your left. So again, twisting the body, knee stays outward a little bit on that side I'm turning away from, and I'm facing the opposite side to your left. And again, I'm going to give this a few repetitions, still inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose, staying as upright as possible and concentrating on that lower back area. And then I'm going to turn back to that forward facing. Okay, so that's one direction. All right, now I want to change to the opposite direction. Normally what we would do is continue to make this circle smaller until we reached a point, and that would stop, and then we would start spiraling in the opposite direction, and then circle in the opposite direction. So this here, the yin-yang symbol here that you have, this is from our Tai Chi ball, from Tai Chi everything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize this to change directions without stopping. So I'm circling on the outside here, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to curve in to the center, then out of the center, and then continue on the outside. Anybody that's basically done yin-yang symbol training, you know about this a lot, all right? We train this a lot. So same thing, if I was just going the opposite direction, I would just curve into the center, out of the center, and then continue on the outside. So that's what we're going to do here. So you're circling in one direction, and now we're going to curve into the center, out of the center, and now you should be on the outside circling in the opposite direction. It's known as a yin-yang symbol exchange, okay? So same thing, inhaling and exhaling through the nose, making nice circles by tilting the hips forward and backwards as well as side to side, and drawing a circle between your feet with the tailbone. Now slowly turn your body again to your right, keeping the knee open a little bit, or the hip open a little bit, and the knee outward so we can turn. Now what I'm doing here, in addition to working this waist area, is I'm also twisting into my joints, the ankle, the hip, and the knee. And by doing so, I'm causing a piezoelectric force, taking a mechanical force and turning it into a bioelectrical force. So that's an additional benefit here of doing this. And then from our Tai Chi classics, we speak of the masters of yesteryear doing their poetry, and what they spoke of is the waist being the director of your action. And you know, from any sport that you do, it's the same thing. The waist is going to guide you on direction. So what we're doing here is, by changing our location from the center to the right, is we're helping that waist area strengthen up for direction. Okay? And we'll turn back to that forward facing position. Don't go too fast. Try to get used to feeling that actual area. Okay? And then we're going to go to your left, just like we did before. Okay, nice circling. Waist, the hip area is open on that side. Again, about 10, 12 different repetitions. If you feel more comfortable, you can continue further. If you find that there's a spot maybe that you feel a little tense, maybe a little stagnation in there, maybe some pinching or something, you can back off a little bit, make the circles a little bit smaller, try to work through those areas, get it nice and smooth. Now we're going to finally come back to our forward-facing position. Okay, so that's horizontally circling the waist. From here, we're going to go to vertically waving the spine, massaging the internal organs. We're going to change the direction of this circling to a vertical motion of waving, all right? And how we're going to do that is we're going to take the hips, use it as, or think of it as a handle of a whip. And we're going to allow this action to roll up the spine. So if I take my model again, what I'm doing here is tilting the hips forward. As I tilt them forward, that'll cause this area to extend, if you will, all right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to bring the hips back, and that'll open this up area and flex it, okay? Now the spine has a natural curve to it, a natural S-curve to it. I'm going to come up a little bit closer for you. And we're not trying to straighten out the spine. What we're trying to do is we're trying to activate the muscle tissue around it, the ligaments, the tendons, and the central nervous system. So again, what I'm doing is I'm tilting forward. That'll cause an extension, okay? And then I'm going to tilt them back to start that chain action of a flexion. And that's going to roll up the spine just like that. Now in this actual exercise, I again am focusing on the lower part of my back, known as the lumbar section, this area here. Even though I'm rolling up through the spine, I'm still working that lower part, and I'll show you a little bit when we're doing the exercises of how and why I mean that, what I'm talking about in there. Okay, so I've been circling the waist horizontally, drawing that circle between the legs, right? So we took this and put it on the bottom. But this is two-dimensional, and now we're in a three-dimensional world, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that now and I'm going to create it as a sphere, all right? This comes from my Tai Chi ball training, one of my passions in life. So this here, from circling horizontal, we're going to cut through the center and then make it a vertical wave, all right? So what I'm going to do is cut into the center. If I cut into the center, that's my starting point. Take my left hand, I'm going to place it on the front side of the body. The finger's going to go about that sternum area on the rib cage, and then the fingers are going to go down towards the abdominal area, okay? So the reason behind this is now what I'm doing is allowing my mind to look for that physical area in my body that I want to move the most. So as you see, I'm going to go from the side. This action now, as you saw with the model, I'm going to take the hips, I'm going to tilt them forward, right? And that starts me almost like I'm bending over. Remember, it's a forward and backward motion, not an up and down motion. So I'm going to tilt them forward. Now watch the hand. It's like somebody's punching me in the gut here. I'm going to tuck the tailbone underneath, or tilt the hips back, if you will. And you see now the lower back starts to push in that direction. And I'm going to move this here, start returning the hips back to the original position, and then roll it up the spine. Exhaling forward. See, now I'm repeating the action, tilting the hips forward. Start tilting the hips back. Inhaling as I come back towards that upright position. So this is that motion. Vertically waving the spine, massaging the internal organs. Okay, so let me back to that forward-facing position to you. So, back and forth. Nice and slow. Again, we're trying to focus on that lower part of your back, okay, that lumbar section. Again, after about 10 repetitions in this direction, we're going to turn the body to your right. So start turning to your right, and again, keep that hip open, that knee outward. Turn as far as you comfortably can. Okay. Now the hips naturally are going to only go so far. the upper body, that thoracic area, can go a little bit further. And I'm going to show you what we do here. So I'm still concentrating on the lower back, but I want to add a little more of a twist to it. Okay. So after about 5-6 repetitions with the hands where they are, I switch hands. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking the opposite arm and I'm going to twist it further towards that right direction. So I'm adding the wave, I'm adding a twisting. And what you notice is, taking my model again, on the spine, the lumbar section has a physical area, all right, physical processes that stop the lumbar section from twisting, okay? But as you move your way up to the thoracic area, the area between the shoulder blades, what you see is those processes are not as developed, and the shape of the thoracic area is a bit different, allowing us to be able to twist more in that area. Okay, so that's what I'm doing by switching the hands here. I'm adding a little bit more of a twist. So I go in this direction here. Okay, so again, sorry, I was a little bit adjusted with the feet. So after about 6-7 repetitions, I slowly turn back to that forward facing position and then go to the left. Okay, then 5 or 6 repetitions in this direction, and then I would change back the hands. So now my left hand is above. Now while you're doing this, you want to be careful not to shift your weight so much. Okay, you want to try to stay as centrally weighted as possible. With vertically waving the spine, your body is going to naturally kind of do a little bit of swing back and forth, only because as I bend forward like this, my weight is starting to come forward up onto the toes, that type of thing. So I'm going to want to kind of go back a little bit to compensate for that, if you will. So there is a little bit of a swaying action, but not too much. As you get more and more comfortable with it, you're going to feel more of that in this area, okay? And you won't do it as much. So after a few repetitions in this direction, we come back to that forward facing position, and that's vertically waving the spine, massaging the internal organs. So what do we mean by massaging the internal organs? Well, this diaphragm here that basically is separating the respiratory from the digestive area is moving up and down. So in addition to my breathing moving this diaphragm up and down, I'm also doing this motion, which is causing that diaphragm to go up and down, which in essence is massaging that abdominal area. Okay, so that's what we mean by massaging the internal organs. Okay, so now from this, we're going to go to the next movement of exercise we do here. So the next movement is called thrusting the chest, arching the chest. And what we're doing now is we're moving up to the thoracic area of the spine, or the area between your shoulder blades. And how we're going to focus into that area is I'm going to take my opposite hand, my right hand, I'm going to bring it up to about the chest area. I'm going to keep the hands at that chest area, but now I'm going to draw big circles with the elbows. So I'm going to come back, extending the spine, if you will, opening up and inhaling, and then I'm going to circle them forward, exhaling. Now I'm still waving my spine. You can see this from this motion. I come up, forward, now I start rolling that spine, pulling it back. And again, up, forward, exhaling, inhaling. Okay, so there's still waving in the spine going on, but now we're kind of working more into that area between the shoulder blades. So again, you'll go a few repetitions in this forward facing position. And then after, say, 10 repetitions, 12 repetitions more, you're going to twist your body again to your right. So again, turning. So I'm adding Again, the twisting or rotation in the spine, if you will. And again, waving in that direction. I do 5, 6, 7 repetitions in that direction. And then come on back, go to your left, same thing. And then back to the forward facing position. Okay, then from here, we're going to move on to the next one. And the next movement is called crane waves its wings. So when I come up, I roll those elbows forward, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my hands away from my body and bring them down to the waist height. And now I'm going to draw 2 large circles at waist height in front of the body. Now there is an exercise in our primary Tai Chi Qigong exercises called the eagle attacks its prey. That's up at shoulder height. This is not. This is down at our waist height. So I'm still waving the spine and I'm drawing these circles in front of the body. Now anybody that does yin-yang symbol training, and those of you in my classes of pushing hands know this, if you look, what I'm doing is I'm drawing 2 yin symbols with my arms, with my hands. And you can tell because my pinkies are leading in this circling, okay? There's a rotation of the forearm as I draw these circles, but I'm basically drawing 2 yin symbols. Now this is 2 arms doing it, right? And what we want to do also is a rotational aspect of the waist and the spine. So what I'm going to do is 1. So now you're going to take your right hand, okay? I'm going to be your mirror again. You're going to place your left hand on your lower dantian area, and you're going to twist to your right first to start to draw this circle. And now you're going to twist to the left, to the opposite side, and let the arm draw 1 large circle out in front of the body. Then start pulling it back with your waist, rotating the forearm as you do. Just make a nice elongated movement. So basically, starting from the waist, waving the spine, twisting the body, letting it go up through the shoulder, the elbow, and then out through the fingers. Again, I'm trying to keep my knees out, if you will, vertically aligned with those feet so I can keep the hips opening and closing. If you're not used to this movement, there are some other videos that'll come out that'll explain a little bit more about that rotational aspect of the waist. Now another thing that we do is these big circles. We always teach big movements, but eventually we get to small movements as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow the hand to stay in front of the body, and I'm going to circle the elbow out. So when I turn, the elbow comes out, and then I bring the hand up and over, then I go underneath. I'm pretending that basically there's a Tai Chi ball right in front of me. So I rotate around the bottom of the ball, then I roll the hand up over the top of the ball, turn the palm over, and scoop under the ball. So for the most part, my hand is going to stay pretty much right here in the center line. I'm just going to turn my waist as I do this, still waving the spine as well as turning the hips. Okay, and then after a few repetitions, we're going to change hands. So I'm going to go to the opposite hand, your left hand. So now bring your left hand out, bring the right hand to your lower dantian, and big circles. After a few repetitions of large circles, try a few small ones. So again, Tai Chi ball is here. I circle around the bottom of it, over the top, scoop underneath, and again, back and forth. Okay, now bring both hands by the sides, and this is basically something I do for all Qigong exercises at the end, loosen up the body a little bit. So we're just going to shake the body a little bit, up and down, twist the waist. And then swing the arms forwards and backwards. Nice brisk action. And then side to side. Oops. And then last, rock back and forth on the feet. They might be a little bit cramped up from sticking into the floor, and you want to make sure you're able to release the chi that's stagnant in there. Okay, so there you have it, folks. The Spinal Qigong exercises. Again, look through the video if you're not familiar with the actions. Get used to the movements and then put it all together. Put it together with the other video with the warm-up and the stretching for a wonderful session of Qigong exercises that you can practice, get your muscles activated, stimulate that central nervous system, and get your Qi flowing non-stagnant. I hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you again.